course, I'd like to thank all of you for coming along and giving us a couple of hours for the launch of Best Independent and Crystal Street. It matters when people give time for Australian books and Australian writing, so thank you very much for that. For those of you, we kind of mingled, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Edward Berridge. I'm a director of Best Independent with Jeremy, with Locke. And I wrote The Lives of the Saints. And I'm on first tonight because I'm very much the support act here this evening. In a few moments, Ben is going to talk a bit about my book and how that fits into a tradition of Australian realist writing, and also about how that tradition has been taken somewhere fresh and different by Jeremy Aitken's new book, Crystal Street. After that, we're going to hear a reading from Crystal Street. Then Ben and Jeremy are going to talk about the book and what shapes Jeremy's aesthetic vision and his writing. Then we'll throw it open to you. If anybody's got any questions about Lives of the Saints or Crystal Street or Best Independent, we're happy to answer those questions. But before all of that, because we're a new voice in Australian publishing, I want to talk a little bit about Best Independent and how we see ourselves, not only as a company, but as people who care about Australian writing. And even more importantly, as people who buy and read Australian books. Because the truth is, there aren't many of us who do that. So why are we here? What's motivated us to create a publishing startup? Well, there's one main reason. We think that there's a glaring and fundamental problem with Australian literary culture. It's irrelevant. Not enough people buy and read the books and journals. Not enough people care. It's that stark. It's that straightforward. And that's a massive problem to unpack and explain. It's an industry white paper or it's a PhD in itself. And I've got a cat 5 minutes here, which I'm going to keep to. But I do think there are a few factors that really stand out. First of all, when we think about Australian literature, it's an insular and self-reflexive world. Our writers, our critics, our publishers have turned inward and have lost not only the ability, but even any real interest in connecting great Australian books with wider public conversations. Second, the culture itself rewards writers for getting grants and finding a place within an inwardly looking system, not for writing books that connect with an audience and sell. So our Leanne Moriarty's, for example, happened by mistake, not by design or cultivation. Finally, the publishing industry itself is kind of lazily embedded into an old economy distribution model and is just plain bad at marketing. For most titles, the high end of the marketing strategy is just to put the book on the shelf and see what happens. Now, none of this is new. People have talked about this before. I wrote about it for Overland in April. But at a time when Frank Morehouse is writing in Meanjin about being 70 and broke, and when Fiona Wright writes in Overland Online about still being a renter, it's still really important to keep talking about. Frank Morehouse and Fiona Wright should be on stamps. They should be regularly scheduled on Q&A. They should be regular panellists on the project. But they're broke, or they're still in share households. And outside of this room tonight, outside of the creative writing departments where some of you teach, and outside of the editorial boards of Meanjin and Overland and Southerly, no one even knows who they are. Not even Frank Morehouse. They might know who Eleanor Ferrante is, they might know who Jonathan Franzen is, but they don't know who Frank Morehouse or Fiona Wright are. And we want to do what we can to change that, not just for ourselves as writers, not just for the writers that we publish, but for Australian writing. Because if we can get the spotlight trained on one Australian book or one Australian writer, we can start making more Australian writing visible. So then, what are we going to do? How do we want to be different? Well, to start with, we're going to make sure that the books that we publish and their writers can ride into the headwinds of bigger contemporary conversations. There's a lot of literary conversations that Crystal Street rides into. Role of critical theory in creative writing, the idea of becoming in contemporary fiction, realism versus the fabulous. More or less choose your own adventure. But masculinity is in crisis. That's a conversation that's going on in different forms everywhere, from Mamma Mia to The Monthly. And Crystal Street is a book that opens that conversation up, creates fresh perspectives and potentially sparks new controversies. And you'll hear Jeremy speak in a minute. He's someone who can give good copy when he needs to. You may have read his comments in the Telegraph last week about the current meth epidemic, speaking alongside medical experts and support providers. Writers and creative people like Jeremy have to be part of those conversations, and we as publishers need to create the context where that is happening. That's one thing that we want to do that's different. We want to focus on a core of writers that we can nurture into public figures. Something else we're going to do is publish for reading audiences and not just for academic audiences or to comply with grants criteria. So, plot as an engine of story, characters that are compelling and believable within their context, narrative beats that pay off, genre fiction if it's written with literary flair, books that you can't put down, not books that you kind of have to force yourself to pick up because they're on a prize shortlist. So Crystal Street is lyrical and it's poetic. The language is sometimes spare and brutal, and sometimes its beauty will take your breath away. But you can't stop reading Crystal Street because you want to know how things are going to turn out for Steve and for Frank. That's how civilians read books. We're going to commission and publish on those terms. Finally, our model is a marketing model more than it is a distribution model. So we want to build authors as brands. We want to connect stories with audiences. And we don't care what format you buy our books in. In fact, in a market where we want more people to buy Australian books, it's easier to ease people into the category if they've got a Kindle or a tablet and they're paying $10 to $15 to try something new instead of $30. We'd love you to buy Crystal Street here tonight for $30, or the price point that we've got. You look at the cover art, you look at Tim's photography and Lachlan's design, but if you buy it for your Kindle, you can afford to buy Charlotte Wood's The Natural Way of Things as well. And because Kindle comes with recommendations, and because people are more impulsive when they buy online, you can end up buying Salt Creek by Lucy Trelaw, or anything by Fiona Capp, or Sophie Laguna, or Catherine McKinnon, or Alexis Wright, or whoever. We don't care, because you've still bought Crystal Street, and you've bought 2 or 3 other Australian books that will change the way you think about Australian writing. So everyone wins. That's something that I could go on about for more than 5 minutes, but that's us, and it's a bit of a primer on what we want to bring to publishing. We just want people to care about great Australian writing, like Crystal Street, and we'd like great Australian writers to earn money from sales and appearances. We'd like them to have careers. We'd like them to have mortgages. And we'd like them to put them at the centre of our culture. We'd like people beyond this room to know who they are. Well, we've only just started, so we want manuscripts, we want poetry and short stories for an anthology. You can go to our website for submission guidelines. If any of that provokes any questions, as I said, we've got an open Q&A at the end, and you can ask me or Jeremy anything you like. But now I'm going to hand over to Ben to talk a little bit about what really matters, which is Jeremy's Crystal Street. Thank you.